Hi friends, today's all about how to create those gorgeous ghost stripes on your painted furniture. If you're not familiar with ghost striping, you're in for a real treat. Louise asked me to create a piece of furniture showcasing ghost stripes and how to create them using glaze. So just let me get set up and I'll be right back. Let's start. Here's the fun part. Here's what the tall boy looked like in its before state. And here's what it looked like after the last makeover. So this is what I'm actually starting with. For those of you that aren't familiar with ghost striping, they are created when you stripe the same color paint, but make the stripes a slightly different hue or sheen. You might see gorgeous examples on classic cars. They used to do that a lot and still do actually when they're redoing them. This can be achieved by using a different top coat, say a satin on the base and a high gloss on the stripe, for example. It can also be done by lightening or darkening your base color by a shade. Or an even easier way of doing this is to use glaze with a pearl or metallic mixed into your base color. Ghost stripes are most visible when the light hits them just right. So adding a metallic or a sheen or a pearl makes it just pop when that light hits it perfectly. The base color paint that I have on this dresser is called Juniper, and it's one of Suzanne's special edition fall colors from Dixie Belle, which is not available now because it was a limited edition. But you can mix the exact same green using a 50-50 mix of Kuzo, I think that's how you pronounce it, and collard greens. And I have a full post and free download recipe card, all the trendy fall colors over on salvagedinspirations.com, which I'll link to in the description area. So you would start by painting a base color you really love. And of course, after your base color dries would be when you start the striping process. Now I had my base color on here already. I chose to add the stripes on the bottom 3 drawers on the sides. And I started with the same width of stripes, but then decided to use 2 different widths of tape to create some variation. I think it makes the stripes look more interesting when it's not quite as symmetrical, but be sure to pick whatever looks good to you. You're going to choose a design that you love. For instance, if you wanted super chunky ghost striping, you can even double or triple up on a thick painter's tape to create super thick stripes. And here's a quick tip to tape off perfectly straight lines every single time. To tape them off perfectly straight, you're going to start at a straight edge of your furniture. So that could be the side of the drawer. In this case, I had the 2 lines right down the middle that I could start with. And once you found a straight line to start with, you're going to take your painter's tape and line it up perfectly with that straight line. Then once your painter's tape, your first piece of painter's tape is lined up perfectly with the straight line, you're going to start laying additional pieces of your painter's tape side by side. So you're going to butt them up perfectly together and lay each one side by side individually. Once they're all laid down perfectly in a row, you're going to remove the painter's tape that you want the ghost striping to appear in. So that's the portion you're going to be painting in. So wherever the tape is stuck on, is going to be the base color. Wherever you remove the painter's tape and start painting this technique is going to be where your ghost striping shows up. Another way of doing this is to use 1 piece of tape as a spacer. So this is the exact same process, except instead of lining it up with a piece of tape, you're going to use 1 piece of painter's tape as your spacer. So here you can see that I'm laying a piece of tape on. I'm butting my spacer piece of tape up against it. Then I'm laying another piece of tape on. Then I'm removing my spacer tape and butting it up against the next one. And the process continues until you have all your masking tape, or I'm sorry, your painter's tape. I don't know why I keep calling it masking tape. So you have all your painter's tape all lined up perfectly, and all your stripes will be perfectly straight. Now, here's another quick tip to seal your painter's tape and get a perfectly crisp stripe, whether it's a ghost stripe or otherwise. I recommend sealing your painter's tape. And to do this is very, very easy. Once all your tape is on in the design that you like, to prevent bleed through and create the most crisp line, you're going to paint over the tape with your base color. One thin coat is all that you need. It's all that's required. And once this coat is dry, it's time to create some ghosting. The reason why this works so well is if anything does seep under your painter's tape, it's going to be the exact same color as your base coat. So then when you go in with another color or your ghosting color, it's not going to seep through anymore. It's going to create a nice crisp stripe with no bleed through whatsoever. And believe me, I have done enough of these to know that it's really worth the time taking that extra, maybe 15 minutes to seal the painter's tape and wait for the paint to dry. Because if you don't, your lines do not turn out half as nice. The striping just looks a little bit messy. So I really, really encourage you to take the time to do this. It makes a huge difference in the finished look. So I had a few different glazes on hand and tried a couple before I decided on the one I wanted to use. I thought maybe just using the glaze right out of the container would work well. I had a silver, I had a gold, and I had a pearl. But when I just applied them onto the drawers full strength, it didn't really appeal to me. It just looked a little harsh and not so much as a ghosting effect. So what I did was I mixed 50% juniper and I mixed 50% of the gold glaze to add some metallic to it. And that's the color that I really, really liked the best. It gave the juniper a really nice warm look. And when the light hits it just right, it shimmers really beautifully. When mixing a glaze into paint, just be sure that you're mixing it really well. And I mixed it periodically as I was painting on these ghosting stripes, just so the metallics wouldn't settle to the bottom. So once I had my paint and gold glaze all mixed up, I painted one coat to add the striping. And while the coat was still wet, I removed the painter's tape. And that's all there is to it. It's pretty darn easy. And I have to say, I love the effect. So here's the before and here's the after. I tried taking the pictures so the light would hit it nicely, and it looks great in these after photos, but I have to say it doesn't compare to what it looks like live. When the light hits it, it's just beautiful. Because it was Furniture Fixer Upper Day on the blog, I didn't get a chance to top coat, but after you do your ghosting, you can go in and top coat with whatever sheen you prefer, and because you have the glaze coat underneath, it will still shine through. So I could go in and I could top coat with a flat, I could top coat with a satin or a gloss. Either way, these ghost stripes are still gonna look gorgeous. So I just wanna give a big thank you to Louise for this great idea. Thank you so much. And if you've been following me over on Salvaged Inspirations or here on YouTube, I've been encouraging you to drop by with ideas for makeovers. What do you want to see me do? Are there any painting techniques that you're interested in seeing? I'd love to hear from you, so feel free to leave a comment down below. You can also follow me over at salvagedinspirations.com. Also on all my social channels. And I thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a fabulous day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye, guys.